Hello everyone. I've had a terrible lurgy. I'm just getting over it. I was supposed to be at a book launch for an anthology that I'm in tonight, but I've made my excuses and my eyes have been hurting too much to read, so I thought, why don't I tell a couple of weird stories that happened to me on public transport. There is a third thing that happened to me on public transport. I mean, at least three. But this third thing is a little bit more disturbing than the other two. So I wrote about it in a blog ages ago and I've linked it in the description. So if you feel like making yourself a little bit sick, you can go and read that. But forewarned is forearmed. Here's number one. I was with Bill, my fiance, and my friend Ian, who I've known since college. And we were coming back from, I think it was a play or something like that, I can't remember, and we were on the tube, the subway if you're American. I was not inconspicuous as usual. I was wearing a giant fake fur coat and 20s clothes, not for any reason, that's just what I like wearing. So I guess if a group of people were going to be picked out from a crowd, it was probably going to be us. There was me and my fiance Bill sitting in the seats. Ian was standing up hanging onto one of the poles, and dotted around there were a couple of pairs of girls, a single girl over there, and this guy. So it was kind of quite empty. This guy was kind of slumped over in the seat and he had a plastic bag filled with beer. This guy's bag of beer fell over onto its side and Ian noticed this and pointed out to him. He said, "Excuse me mate, your beer's just fallen over," trying to help him out. And from that moment on, this guy, it was like Ian had just waved a red flag at him or something. He didn't take kindly to him trying to help him out, and I really can't figure out why, but it just really enraged him. He started yelling incoherently. I still can't remember what it was he was saying, and we tried to ignore him. Ian carried on talking to us, but he only got as far as basically. He said basically about 3 times, and all 3 times this guy went basically, yeah. I don't know why Ian doesn't sound posh, but he just really hated Ian. He turned his attention to me after a while and said, "Oh, what's the matter with you? Oh, you look all upset. What's your problem?" And then he starts yelling, "Look me up, I'm Danny," whatever his name is. "I'm Danny, look me up, everyone knows who I am. I'm a right hard nut," things like that. And it was quite embarrassing. But at the same time, you're locked in this tiny metal machine, just the few of you all together. There's no immediate escape unless you get to a station, and the entire thing starts to feel as if it's filling up with pressure, and everyone's kind of avoiding eye contact or looking at their feet or something like that, anything to pretend that this thing that's happening isn't happening in the same area that they are. In their mind, they're like, "I'm at home, I am safe, everything is fine." And I looked at a couple of the girls and they were doing the same as me, you know. And then I did what I do in a lot of situations where I panic, which is laugh. I didn't find it remotely funny, and I wasn't trying to provoke this guy, but I was so frightened that I just started laughing manically, you know, like really sort of provoking him almost. Well, not almost, it was provoking him. And he just loses his mind and he starts yelling, "Oh, I'm going to chuck you off this train, or I'm going to cut your head off, I'm going to kill you." And he's like yelling these violent things. And I'm laughing at him. And the more he does it, the more I laugh at him. It's just a really bad situation. And I know that what I'm doing is wrong, but I can't seem to stop. And Bill, bless him, is partially sighted, and he can't see this guy or can't see what's going on. So he just sort of retreats into himself, and after a while he turns to the pair of us, me and Ian, and says, we need to get off the train. And I'm still just laughing, vacuously laughing, and this guy is still yelling that he's gonna stab me, cut my head off, fling my body from the train and keep my head, all this stuff. And one of the other girls opposite me, obviously through panic and confusion as well, starts laughing. So it's just a mess. It's just a big mess. And so after a while we get to the next station and it's still 2 to go before it's our stop. But Ian says, come on guys, and ushers the pair of us out onto the platform. And I kind of didn't really want to go. Part of me doesn't want this guy to think that he's frightened me. But the other half thinks, you know, he actually could stab you. So I follow Ian off, me and Bill, and we wait at the platform for the next one, which is only along in 2 minutes, obviously, you know, and talk about the weird experience that we've just had. This next thing happened about 10 years ago. I was an intern at a medical magazine for medical professionals, and I had to go from London back to Essex, which is where I live. And nothing happened on the train. It was all very uneventful, but it was when I got back to the station at my home and got out of the station, and you come out of there, and opposite that across the road is a row of houses, and in front of the station is a phone box, and I had to make a phone call. So I went into the phone box, picked up the phone. It was night time, just to make that clear, but just before I picked up the phone it rang, and I thought, that's weird. So I answered it quite hesitantly and I went, hello? And there was a voice, and it was a man who was doing like a high-pitched voice. He was either doing it to disguise his voice, or he had some vocal issue. And he said, this is absolutely true. And he said, I can see you. And I said, what? And he said, you're wearing a purple skirt. And I just completely freaked out and slammed the phone down. And I looked at the houses opposite, and I knew it had to be someone in one of those. I couldn't see any lights on in any of them. I couldn't see any movement. I have absolutely no idea which one it was to this day. And so I immediately went back in and called my friend and said, please, can I have a lift home? So yes, those are my public transport tales. I hope you enjoyed them. Merry holidays, and I'll see you soon.